Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review, Compare the Pair. I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
On Compare the Pair, we usually take a look at an original movie and its remake and see how the two measure up. However, today we're taking a look at two very different TV shows. Both are from the same team of creatives, both set in the same universe, and both share some of the same characters. Two very different shows, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Now, you finally got a chance to see both these series, didn't you?
Yes.
So, we finally get to talk about it in depth.
One sleepless night, I finally decided to watch Breaking Bad. Better late than never.
So, Breaking Bad stars Bryan Cranston as Walter White, an overqualified high school chemistry teacher who is diagnosed with inoperable lung cancer on his 50th birthday. He teams up with a former student, Jesse Pinkman, played by Aaron Paul, and they produce crystal meth with the idea of putting together enough money to leave behind in case of his death.
Yes.
Things do not go according to plan.
Do they ever go according to plan for this man? I don't know.
Whereas Better Call Saul is a prequel series set in the early 2000s and the years running up to Breaking Bad. It stars Bob Odenkirk as James McGill, a lawyer who will become Saul Goodman, the criminal lawyer who's an associate of Walt and Jesse in Breaking Bad. It also stars Michael McKean as his brother Chuck McGill, who's an accomplished lawyer, unfortunately homebound due to developing an hypersensitivity to electromagnetic forces, and Ray Seahorn as Kim Wexler, Jimmy's one true friend, and herself a lawyer who's sort of trying to make her way in the world and falling into Jimmy's schemes. Yeah. So, yeah, you finally got to see him.
I finally got to see him. Generally, Breaking Bad definitely had some pacing issues in places. Definitely suffered from, not writing fatigue, but definitely they tried to reinvent the wheel with some of their characters to sort of change them to the world around them, particularly with Skyler.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of Skyler and Walter Jr., even when they did try to change Skyler into a more supportive role.
Yeah, Breaking Bad was very much made on the fly. Like, they really took into account viewer complaints and comments. I mean, the character of Mike, played by Jonathan Banks, who becomes such a prominent role in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, was just intended to be a one-off character.
Much like the Chicken Man.
Yes. Gustavo Fring, played by Giancarlo Esposito, finally talking about his main claim to fame.
Yes.
After he's been in Star Wars.
My sister's so annoyed. She can't go anywhere without seeing him.
Yeah, he's in a lot now.
He's going to be in the next Far Cry game as the villain.
And he's got himself a new Netflix series, apparently.
More Chilean.
Yes. Yeah, so it's very much a show that was made with viewer feedback. Because Skyler, like you said, was kind of a divisive character. She's the wife of Walter. She's we start the series basically with them in a rut, and he gets this diagnosis and kind of goes off the rails.
Yes.
And it's kind of a show that even from the very beginning shows that he has a capacity for darkness within him. He just buries it under all the beige, the beige car and sweaters. And Skylar's not comfortable with seeing him break out of this mold.
Yeah.
And she's, talking about divisive characters, her and Chuck in Better Call Saul. They're kind of roadblocks for our protagonists, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
the inevitable change when it comes to Skylar.
Yeah, Chuck feels a lot more set in his ways, like
yes.
They did with him what they wanted to do, not...
And he feels a lot more of a well-rounded and defined character than Skylar, who kind of flip-flopped.
Skylar doesn't get much to do outside of the home, I find.
No.
We sort of see, like, she had a life before. Like, she obviously had a job, and she sort of uses that against Walt. One moment that stood out to me on a rewatch with Skylar was when she's working for her former employer, Ted, and she comes in and she does kind of more of a James McGill, more of a Saul as opposed to a Walt. She goes in and she lies through her teeth to kind of paint a picture and sell a story, and I felt that was really admirable for her. I think that was in the course correction stage when they kind of realised Skylar is so hated, but by that point I think anything she did, people just hated her.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
No win, unfortunately.
So I guess one thing about this series as well is the transformation of the main characters.
Yes.
Walt becoming Heisenberg, Jimmy becoming Saul. And it's a gradual thing for both.
It is. But there's definitely you can see the foundations rot more clearly when it comes to Jimmy, while with Walt it's kind of more ambiguous. Like Heisenberg and him are the same side of the coin, while with Jimmy it's an evolution.
Yeah, it feels like there's two sides to Jimmy more clearly. Like,
Yeah.
he does feel like he does lie a lot to sort of get away with what he's doing.
He's definitely more of a salesman than he is a lawyer.
Yes. Yeah, whereas with Walt, I think he tries to kid himself, whereas Jimmy's trying to kid others
Yeah.
into thinking that he's, especially his brother.
Precisely.
Chuck.
Trying to throw off the shackles of Slippin' Jimmy.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame returning to Better Call Saul's earlier seasons, how it just seems like no matter what Jimmy tries to do, Chuck never believes him, which leads to Jimmy sort of falling back into the criminal lifestyle.
Pretty much. There's definitely the pseudo antagonist of Howard Hamlin.
Yep, the rival lawyer.
Yes, the other name on the Hamlin, and McGill sign.
Yeah, the law firm which Chuck was a part of, which who seemed just determined to sort of screw over Jimmy at every turn. Whether they're stealing cases, whether they're denying him employment.
And then the twist reveal, it's like, we always wanted you, my man, but your brother roadblocked us.
Saul is more of a slow burn, hey?
Yes, it is definitely a well-worthed slow burn.
I think I prefer Saul as opposed to Breaking Bad.
This definitely feels like the team learnt their lessons and realized, yeah, this is how we can make a better show.
Again, going into the behind the scenes, Breaking Bad was so sort of seat of your pants that they were anticipating cancellation at the end of Series 3. Series 4, I think, was seen by many to kind of be the ending. But then Series 5 kind of feels like it went on a bit too long.
I think it really should have ended on the episode Ozymandias rather than where it went.
Sort of leave it as an open ending, hey?
Yeah, sort of like either Walt did go and get a new life and then hid away rather than go back to try and fix all his messes.
Which he does.
He does, but...
not going too heavy on the spoilers. On the rewatch of Breaking Bad, it becomes so apparent that Walt is kind of the bad guy from the get-go.
Yeah.
He kind of... It sort of depends when you determine he's crossed the line. Like, when he makes his first kill, when he allows death to happen, causing further deaths, or when he becomes a drug manufacturer himself,
Pretty much. While with Jimmy, he tiptoes the line, but you don't know where he's going to fall.
I think Jimmy is sort of working more for good.
He is.
I mean, he's pressured by evil men to kind of do evil things.
Yeah.
Like Nacho and Duco and all that, who are... Lalo as well, another colourful character. But I think he's mostly on the side of good, and he sort of unfortunately gets drawn into the darkness of his other characters who come into his life.
Yes.
A bit of fraud is nothing really compared to bodies in barrels and killing kids.
Oof, yeah.
Comparing, I guess, Skylar, blonde-haired, both blonde-haired, female leads who are kind of romantic interests. I mean, obviously, Skylar's married to Walt, and Kim has kind of an on-off thing with Jimmy.
I prefer Kim to Skylar.
Kim's
Plain
great.
and simple. Kim's great.
Yeah. Kim kind of, again, feels like a course correction, like a learning from mistakes they did with Skylar.
But she definitely has her morals, and she's a bit more shaken easily than the other characters.
She's willing to take, I guess, steps across the line as opposed to fully going over and kind of delving into that dark world of criminality.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see Mike as well, to actually see his story grow and evolve, because in Breaking Bad, he's kind of the immovable character. He's the one who's kind of, you don't take half measures.
He's the immovable object.
And Better Call Saul is him kind of becoming that immovable object.
Well, more leading him to where we first meet him.
There's a few comparisons to be made with him and Walt, in a way. Like, Walt feels like he stumbles into this world he doesn't fully understand and tries to force it into working the way he wants it to.
Yeah.
Like, he tries to sort of argue with Gus, like, you seem like an intelligent man, which is quite an insulting thing to say. But he's kind of like, you seem civilized, you seem intelligent. Why are you being so brutal? Why are you conforming to this? Oh, okay, you're going to be like that. I'm going to destroy you.
Yeah, bye.
And Mike himself is kind of like, even again with Gus, again that character who's kind of pushing these two men, and Mike, I guess, is sort of more willing to bend and sort of, or at least understand where
He knows where his limits lie, and he knows how far he can go. While with Walt, he's still trying to figure out what he is.
It's quite crazy as well that the first 5 and a bit seasons take place in 1 year. Yeah. I mean, the show had been going for 5 years at that point. Yeah. And to think it was only like, a few months since Crazy 8 was in the basement. And yeah. Pacing issues, though, yeah, I do think Breaking Bad did drag at times.
Yes.
And Saul did feel like it was going nowhere fast, if you're kind of expecting more action and stuff. It does. It's very deliberate.
It knows how to keep you entertained while taking its time.
There's some points where it's just a straight-up law show.
Yeah. But I don't mind that.
Yeah. It's really engaging, that.
I actually nearly asked a friend about it who recently studied for the American bar.
Oh, right.
Sadly, he missed it by one question.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
Gonna ask him, so how true is half of this stuff? I'm there watching him going, hang on, is he too close to the well? Is he not? You can't approach the judge unless asked. Yeah, it's just, whoa.
Yeah. Especially after seeing Lawyer reacts online. Like, don't approach the judge, get into the well. It's like, Jimmy, get out. But Jimmy's sort of that guy who will, and I notice a lot of other lawyer characters will stand back at their desks, and Jimmy will get forward and perform.
Because it's Jimmy. He's a very charismatic individual.
Yeah, he's a lot easier to like, I feel. With Walt, it's sort of like, oh, he's doing it for this reason.
Yeah, he's doing it because of this. But I can't stay mad at him because it's Hal from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, I think that's what drew a lot of people to this. Whereas with this, it was like, it's a shame Better Call Saul, I think, is the better series, but you need that context with Breaking Bad. And not to say like Breaking Bad's a slog to get through.
No.
It's a great show.
It feels like it takes a while.
It's a lot more brutal as well. And there's kind of a comfort with Better Call Saul of like, we know the fate of these characters, so we can kind of relax and just enjoy them in this context.
Yeah, you can't die yet. You still got 5 more seasons.
Yeah.
It's almost like what they did with Leonard Nimoy in Star Trek. No, don't you go dying on us yet, old man. We still got 10 more cameos to wring out of you.
But, of course, there's sort of some vague characters who we don't yet know the fates of entirely.
Nacho.
Lalo. And Kim.
Yes.
Being the big ones. Oh, and Chuck, we should say, for early viewers.
And Chuck.
Yes.
Yes.
It was interesting seeing Jimmy's reaction, how he doesn't actually talk about Chuck's death for like a whole season.
Yeah.
The feelings don't come out until then, and by that which point it's been almost a year in his life. The thing about Breaking Bad, like we said, with it being so compact, everything just takes place in a crazy year. But I guess that's the way things go. Whereas with Jimmy, it's a lot more spread out.
It is.
It starts in 2002, and currently it's up to 2006. When Breaking Bad starts in 2008.
2 more years.
Yeah. Well, season 4 jumped forward a year, with Jimmy Bard and,
Yeah, we're not going to spend an entire season of him Bard.
No.
We'll try and get through it as quickly as we can.
And also the development of the super lab that we see in Breaking Bad. That was a long, arduous process, wasn't it?
It was.
Well, not sort of arduous in the context of the world itself, but not so much to watch. It's quite like, okay, well, how are they going to build this lab? They're going to hire, foreign people who are going to work in a location. They don't know where they are, so they can't give it away unless, we have to kill them if they do get out.
Yeah.
And kind of just seeing, it is quite considered. And I could see how some would see this as just slow and boring, but it contributes to...
It contributes to a lot. This is almost the foundations that Breaking Bad now rests upon.
Yeah, and it all works. surprisingly well.
Surprisingly, for the most part.
Seeing Crazy 8, of all people, cameo.
Mm.
Show up looking a lot more mature.
And a lot more alive.
Yeah. Huel was fun to see.
Oh, yes.
It's kind of like...
A lot more slimmer Huel.
Good to see, like, oh, the actor lost weight. That's good for him. Oh, no, Huel's going to put it back on. There was actually... Because there's the spin-off film to this, El Camino, which is on Netflix. Both of these series, we should say, are on Stan.
Yes.
El Camino's on Netflix. There was a little preview which aired in the lead up to El Camino of Huel still sitting in his little safe house room, deciding I've had enough of this and leaving as the episode debuts. It's a lot more colourful, a lot more vibrant. Saul, in comparison. Well, kind of, as the series goes on, it does get a lot darker. You sort of feel the encroaching doom.
Yeah.
And, like I said, leaves a lot of characters' fates in doubt. No gratuitous cameos, like, there's no Walt, there's no Jesse, there's no Badger or Skinny Pete or Combo showing up. It's just kind of wonder where it's going to go from here.
Here's hoping. Looks like it's going to be great.
5 seasons in for Saul so far, and
with a 6th on the way.
Yeah, a bit of a health scare with Bob Odenkirk where he collapsed on set a few weeks ago. That was a terrifying time. I think he's become one of my favourite actors thanks to Saul.
He's definitely made the role one of his more... Yeah, it's Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah, when he shows up for like inconsequential, extra work in like Everybody Loves Raymond or Frasier, it's like, oh, hey.
Are they connected? We'll never know.
Oh, they very well could be. Yeah, I think Better Call Saul relies very heavily upon Breaking Bad's existence. Each season begins with like a black and white intro scene.
Which is further in time, set after the events of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, kind of an unspecified bit of time. Nice little cameo from Robert Forster, the fixer, the vacuum repairman.
Yes.
He actually passed away the day before El Camino debuted.
Oh.
Yeah, he did get to see it because he is in that film.
Yep.
And then to see him show up in Saul was kind of like, wow, are we going to get like another unexpected thing in season 6,
Who knows?
I think the problem, well, not the problem, I think the thing with Breaking Bad and Saul is that you kind of realise with Walt, he reaches a point of no return, and it's a lot more evident on the rewatch. Going back to like what he was saying, like trying to appeal to Gus, there's a scene where Gus takes him hostage and takes him out to the desert to threaten him. And Walt is obviously sort of living in this like hyper, anxious state of like thinking, I'm going to be killed, he's going to kill my family. So he kind of says this to Gus, like, you're going to kill my family. And Gus kind of seems almost offended and kind of says, okay, if you screw me over, I will kill your family. I will kill your infant daughter. And it kind of just reaffirms what Walt's been believing. But it kind of feels like on the rewatch, like, yeah, like, Gus was going to be reasonable. Walt's being a dick.
Yeah.
And he's going to go like, pull your head in, or things aren't going to go the way you are. Oh, you're just going to do it anyway. Okay, fine.
He creates the situations that he fears.
Yeah, everything is his own fault, I think. So how did it actually hold up when you finally did get around to watching it?
It was definitely a show of its time. When I say of its time, I mean the time period it set itself in. It felt grounded in that, and it felt very... I definitely see why people hold this to acclaim, but now, compared to some other acclaimed shows, it kind of feels a bit more... I definitely enjoyed it. It's more... It might have overstayed its welcome in season 5.
Yeah, a bit long and a bit unpleasant.
Yeah.
It just turns up the unpleasantry and sort of like, oh, we have to deal with that.
Yes.
Which El Camino unfortunately suffers from, where it's sort of dealing with the repercussions of Series 5 in particular. Poor Jesse.
Oh, Jesse just can't get a break.
So do you think it's like dated in a way? Early seasons did feel a lot more simple and sort of like, this is 2008, 2007.
Yeah, technology-wise definitely makes it feel dated, but I think you could sort of just get over that.
Yeah.
I mean, I did.
I mean, there's some shows...
some scenarios in Breaking Bad where you can just say, this could easily be fixed if you had a smartphone.
Yeah. I think Saul being set almost 20 years ago, but being made now, it doesn't feel as... I mean, obviously it's a lot more modern.
Yes.
Final thoughts?
Definitely both worth a watch, though be prepared for a long haul.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a commitment.
It is.
I think it's probably one of the shows that got out with a clean enough ending and a chance to continue and sort of have characters that people wanted to see more of, whereas, like, you know, your Game of Thrones kind of lost its goodwill.
It lost its goodwill very quickly.
To the point you go, Game of Thrones prequel spin-off, who cares?
Yeah, Game of Thrones? He's made his money, he's not going to make the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas, I mean, after Breaking Bad ended, it's kind of like a Saul thing could be in the works, and it's like, oh wow, what's that going to be like? And it turned out to be something even better.
Much better.
Yeah. In conclusion, Breaking Bad is a crime drama, and it managed to step outside the long shadows cast by the likes of The Wire and The Sopranos, both programs which ended the year before Breaking Bad began. There are a few pacing issues, but it's mostly down to the fact that the show was really written as it went along. Considering it was threatened with cancellation so many times during its run, it's kind of remarkable it ran as long as it did, and spawned an entire franchise off it. It does feel very much like a product of its time, the late 2000s and early 2010s. However, it kind of sets the standard for what premium dramas would become. Better Call Saul really learns from the mistakes of Breaking Bad, and formulates a story with much better pacing. While it is a bit slow at times, it's a lot more considered. It's a lot more colourful of a show, a lot brighter, a lot happier. Set within that criminal world with all those colourful characters people obviously gravitated towards, there is still drama and tension to be found, even though you go into this knowing the fates of a lot of the characters involved. And for those you don't, it's still pretty engaging to meet and get to know them and kind of hope that everything turns out okay for them, or, in the case of some villains, turns out badly for them. Both Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad are available to watch on Stan, and the sequel film El Camino is on Netflix. Anyway, that about wraps it up for today. I'm Royce.
And I'm Joshua.
And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.